At 4:30 a.m. in Warsaw, a man calmly steps into the street as terrified civilians run from a German roundup. No one knows he is trying to get himself arrested on purpose. German trucks block the street, soldiers shouting as they drag people from doorways. Amid the chaos, one man stands still, watching, waiting, almost inviting capture. A truck screeches in front of him. Soldiers jump down, forcing people into lines. Fear fills the street, yet the tall man remains strangely calm, as if following a plan. When a soldier grabs him, he hands over his papers without hesitation. Light glints off his trembling hands, marking the beginning of a mission no one would believe. In Warsaw, the resistance is desperate for answers about a place called Auschwitz. Rumors spread, but no one truly knows what waits behind its electric fences. Before leaving home, he wrote a short letter to his wife. Not a goodbye, just an apology for going toward the very place every other man in Poland runs from. At the city station, crowds are crammed into cattle cars. There are no whispered hopes, only the distant look of people who no longer control their fate. Inside the car, bodies press together in suffocating darkness. Every kilometer deepens the stench and fear, as if the train itself is being swallowed by an endless void. When the gates emerge through the fog, he realizes this is not a prison. It is an entirely different world, where time and life have no meaning. The sign Arbeit macht frei hangs over the entrance like a cruel joke. Anyone who steps beneath it disappears from the outside world. He has volunteered to go in. On arrival, prisoners are beaten to teach obedience. He stands in the line, observing everything the suffering around him, becoming the first data for his secret mission. Before sunrise, prisoners stand for hours on the frozen roll call square. Each one is just a shaking shadow, caught between hunger, cold, and the terror of day one. Forced labor begins immediately. They drag stones, carry bricks, work until collapse. But he survives, because he has a purpose stronger than fear. Receiving his new prison number, 4859, he knows he has just lost the last trace of his identity. And yet, this is the moment his real mission begins. In the darkness of the barracks, he looks for eyes that still hold a spark. Quiet conversations become the first seeds of a resistance network. Tiny scraps of paper pass hand to hand like stolen breaths. One mistake could doom them all, but silence would be far more deadly. From these whispers, he forms small resistance cells. Separate, yet connected. Each man becomes a link in a hidden machine built at the heart of Auschwitz. In the infirmary, prisoners hide bits of medicine, trying to save those on the edge. A single aspirin can mean one more day of life. In the kitchen, prisoners fake clumsiness to slip bread into their sleeves. Every stolen crust is a small victory against the camp's machinery of death. Then the first report is born, hidden inside a loaf of bread and smuggled out by a released inmate. The truth of Auschwitz begins to escape the walls. As fragments of his reports leak out, Allied intelligence officers in London struggle to believe what they are reading. The scale of cruelty described seems impossible, yet the details are terrifyingly precise. Inside the camp, prisoners quietly sketch the crematorium layouts on scraps of stolen paper. Every line risks execution. But without these drawings, no one outside will understand the machinery of death. From guard towers, SS men watch new transports, march in faces blank, steps heavy, hope drained long before entering the gate. Each arrival fuels the machine that grows larger and more efficient every week. At night, in dim workshops, prisoners sabotage equipment with grains of sand and loosened bolts. Tiny acts of defiance ripple through Auschwitz, buying seconds of life in a place designed to erase it. Inside a darkened barracks, prisoners gather for a secret mass. Voices quiet, hands trembling. They cling to a faith the Germans cannot strip away. In that flicker of candlelight, humanity refuses to die. One whisper spreads like wildfire. Stalingrad. For the first time in months, prisoners feel a spark of real hope. If the Germans can be stopped there, perhaps Auschwitz is not the end of their story. In his bunk, by the faint glow of a smuggled candle, he drafts plans for a camp uprising, mapping guard routes, weak points, and the timing needed for a revolt that could shake the world. He imagines Allied bombers roaring overhead, breaking the walls, opening a path for escape. But the skies above Auschwitz remain silent. Hope lingers, but help does not come. Across the camp, prisoners craft makeshift weapons from scrap metal, small blades, hidden clubs, anything that can tilt the odds even slightly. Their lives depend on creativity as much as courage. But from London and Warsaw comes only silence. His pleas, plans, and warnings vanish into diplomatic shadows. The world has heard him yet chooses not to act. Outside the bakery at night, smoke and fog wrap the building in secrecy. Here, beyond the inner fences, he sees the first real chance to escape and carry the truth out himself. Inside, heat from the ovens mixes with fear as the three prisoners exchange silent nods. If they fail tonight, they will die. If they succeed, the world may finally hear the truth. A stolen knife slices through the phone line. No alarms, no shouts, only the faint crackle of sparks. The camp's voice has been cut off, if only for a moment. In the shadows, they silently overpower a guard. No gunshots, no cries, just the precise, desperate violence of men fighting for a chance at freedom and meaning. They sprint into the dark forest, leaving the glowing ovens and barbed wire behind. Every step away from the camp feels unreal, like running from a nightmare that wants to drag them back. In freezing water up to their chests, they wade across the Vistula. He lifts the precious documents above his head, holding the truth higher than his own life. They hide in a barn loft as German patrols sweep below with lanterns. Dust swirls in the dim light. One wrong breath could end everything. At last, exhausted and starving, they reach a safe house in Warsaw. For the first time in years, he steps into a room where no guard is watching, only allies waiting for answers. He spreads maps and coded notes across a table, writing his report long into the night. Every sentence becomes a weapon aimed not at soldiers, but at the world's indifference. When Allied officers read his full report, shock fills the room. Now they know. Auschwitz is not a camp, it is a factory engineered to erase entire nations, and his warning can no longer be ignored. After the report, he spends long nights staring out a dim Warsaw window, knowing the truth is finally out, but unsure whether anyone will have the courage to act on it. As the city edges toward revolt, he helps the resistance prepare weapons in underground rooms. Maps, pistols, and homemade explosives scatter across tables like pieces of a fragile hope. When the Warsaw Uprising erupts, he fights in the streets once more. Flames, rubble, and German gunfire turn every corner into a battlefield where survival lasts minutes at a time. Insurgents brace behind makeshift barricades, trams overturned, sandbags piled high. Every shot fired is a statement. Poland may be occupied, but it is not broken. Inside a shattered building, he kneels beside the wounded, offering what little aid he can. He had survived Auschwitz. Now he risks everything again to save his city. But the uprising cannot withstand German armor and airstrikes. Eventually, he and others are captured exhausted fighters, rounded up as the city burns behind them. Sent to a POW camp, he endures yet another prison. Snow gathers on thin roofs, prisoners huddle behind wire fences, and the war drags on with no promise of mercy. When liberation finally comes, it brings relief, but also uncertainty. The Germans are gone, yet Poland stands on the edge of a new and shadowed future. The Soviet-backed regime tightens its grip. Offices fill with smoke, suspicion, and whispers. Former resistance fighters, once heroes, become targets of the new authorities. He notices men in coats following him through Warsaw streets. The new secret police study him closely, fearing what he represents far more than what he has done. One night, heavy footsteps echo through the stairwell. The secret police burst in, their flashlights tearing through the darkness. He knows, this time, the prison will not belong to the Germans. In the interrogation room, he sits calmly under a glaring lamp. They want him broken, they want confessions, but he has already survived the worst place on earth. Days blur into nights. Torture leaves subtle clues: torn cloth, dried blood, a cup knocked over. Nothing is shown directly, yet the suffering hangs thick in the air. Even in captivity, he writes hidden notes, recording truth the new regime wants erased. He documents everything, because silence, he believes, is the beginning of tyranny. His trial is a performance, not a search for justice. Judges read pre-written accusations as soldiers stand guard. He is condemned long before the verdict is spoken. The sentence is delivered with the thud of stamped papers. Death, not for treason, but for refusing to rewrite the truth to comfort those in power. Escorted down a dim corridor, he walks with quiet dignity. There are no crowds, no final speeches, only a lone figure stepping toward the end with unbroken resolve. He is buried in an unmarked grave, hidden in a forest clearing. For decades, no stone bears his name. The regime tries to bury his story along with his body. Years later, dusty archives are opened. Historians uncover forgotten files, letters, and reports the echoes of a man the world was never meant to remember. His writings are studied with awe. Witold's report becomes one of history's clearest windows into Auschwitz, proving that even in hell, courage can survive. In modern Poland, honor guards gather to restore the dignity he was denied. Flags rise, wreaths are laid, and his story, once erased, returns to the nation he died to protect. His name is finally carved into stone. For decades it was hidden, whispered only in secret circles. Now it stands in the open, sharp and clear, for all to see. At Auschwitz, visitors walk the quiet paths he once walked as a prisoner. The place remains a scar on history, yet also a testament to those who resisted even within its walls. Behind glass, artifacts from the camp rest under soft museum lights. Uniforms, tags, small personal items. Each object speaks more painfully than any paragraph in a book. Candles flicker beneath barbed wire during evening vigils. Their small flames reflect in silent faces, reminding us that memory itself is an act of defiance. Artists paint him not as a flawless hero, but as a man who chose truth over safety. His story is no longer hidden in archives. It inspires new generations to ask what courage truly means. Maps now show the full arc of his mission. From Warsaw into Auschwitz, out through escape and back into the fight. A path no other volunteer in history has ever walked. One quote remains unforgettable. Compared to this, Auschwitz was just a game. It captures the brutality he endured after the war and the strength that carried him through it. Today, sunlight breaks through the clouds over fields where he once lived. His country is free, his truth is known, and history can no longer silence his voice. His legacy lives on, in books, in museums, in the hearts of those who seek justice. One man walked willingly into Auschwitz so the world would know the truth. And now, at last, the world remembers him. Don't forget to hit subscribe to discover more untold stories of World War II.